What if one day you woke up and everything you had was gone, your home, your partner, your stability, and the only thing left was the will to keep going? In today's video, we'll dive into the incredible true story of Chris Gardner, the man who went from being homeless with his young son to building a multi-million-dollar financial empire. Stay with me as we explore how tragedy pushed him to the edge, how resilience and determination became his only assets, and what lessons we can all learn from his remarkable comeback in the world of finance. Imagine a man walking the streets of San Francisco at night holding the tiny hand of his 2-year-old son. The air is cold, the noise of the city surrounds them, but inside he feels only silence. The city lights flicker, but for him they do not shine. They only remind him of what he has lost. He has no house to return to, no bed to rest in, no comfort to offer his child. When the shelters are full and the night feels endless, he finds a bathroom in a train station, locks the door, and whispers to his boy, "It's just for tonight." This man was Chris Gardner. He once believed he had built a stable life with dreams of success and a happy family. But in just a few months, everything collapsed. His relationship shattered, his money vanished, and the walls of his home closed behind him for the last time, leaving him and his son outside with nowhere to go. Each day became a battle for survival, a test of whether hope could survive when all that surrounded him was despair. Yet even in that darkness, one vision stayed alive in his mind. Chris dreamed of breaking into the world of finance, a world that seemed designed to keep him out. He had no degree, no connections, no fancy suit. What he had was persistence, a determination to prove that his value was greater than the circumstances he was trapped in. For Chris, every morning was a chance to step 1 inch closer to that dream, even when the night before had been spent on a hard floor or in the corner of a shelter. Every morning, Chris Gardner woke before the sun carrying the weight of exhaustion, yet forcing himself to stand tall. He would dress in the same worn clothes, still slightly damp from the night before, and prepare himself for another day of proving that he belonged in a world that had no place for men like him. He would drop off his son at daycare, praying he had just enough coins to pay the fee, then hurry through the crowded streets to the brokerage firm where he had secured an unpaid internship. To most people, it was nothing more than a temporary chance to learn, but to Chris, it was the door to survival, the possibility of rewriting his life. Inside the office, he was surrounded by men with sharp suits, shiny watches, and polished shoes, men who seemed untouchable while he carried the quiet shame of homelessness. But Chris refused to let his reality show. He studied harder than anyone else. He made calls with speed and precision. He absorbed every number and chart until they became second nature. When the office emptied at night, he stayed behind reviewing his notes, whispering formulas to himself, determined to transform weakness into strength. Each day ended with no paycheck, no comfort, no guarantee of tomorrow. He would collect his son and face the uncertainty of where they would sleep, whether it was a shelter with limited beds or a locked bathroom where the sound of trains rattled through the night. But even there, in the coldest moments, Chris discovered a hidden truth. Success was not built on luck alone, it was forged in the furnace of resilience. Every rejection became fuel. Every closed door became motivation to find another way. He was a man stripped of everything, yet in that emptiness he carried an unshakable fire. With nothing to lose and everything to build, Chris Gardner transformed despair into the raw energy that would one day carry him into the world of finance. Not as a beggar at the gate, but as a man ready to own the house itself. At the end of his internship, Chris Gardner faced one final test, a single decision from the firm that would determine whether months of sacrifice had been for nothing or for everything. He sat in a crowded room surrounded by other interns, each one desperate for the same dream, each one praying their effort would be enough. Chris carried no diploma, no pedigree, no safety net. All he had was his performance and the silent promise he had made to his son that their story would not end in despair. The tension was unbearable, yet when his name was called and he realized he had been offered a full-time position, the world seemed to pause. In that instant, the weight of every sleepless night, every locked bathroom, every walk through the cold streets with his child pressed against his chest finally lifted. It was not just a job, it was redemption. It was proof that resilience and determination could turn impossible odds into triumph. From that first paycheck, Chris began to build a new life, one brick at a time. He moved into a real home, he provided stability for his son, and he continued to rise through the world of finance. Years later, he founded his own brokerage firm, proving that the man who once had nothing could create something powerful enough to inspire millions. His success was measured not only in wealth, but in the message he carried. He became a writer, a speaker, and a mentor, teaching that no tragedy, no failure, no rejection can define you if you refuse to surrender. Chris Gardner's journey is not only the story of a man who became a multimillionaire. It is the story of a father who refused to let poverty break his bond with his child. It is the story of how the darkest nights can ignite the brightest fire. And it is the story that reminds us that in finance and in life, the most powerful investment you can ever make is not in stocks or bonds, but in yourself, your resilience, and your unwavering belief that tomorrow can be better than today. So what can we take away from Chris Gardner's journey? A man who once had nothing, not even a bed for his child, turned his pain into power and built a future that most only dream of. His story is living proof that failure is never the end. It is only the beginning of something greater. If you feel trapped, if you feel broken, if you feel like the odds are against you, remember Chris walking the streets with his son. No money, no home, no certainty, and yet refusing to give up. He turned rejection into resilience. He turned despair into determination. And he turned a dream into destiny. And here is the truth. If he could do it, so can you. Because the greatest wealth is not in the money you make. It is in the strength you build inside yourself. Hold on to that fire and never let it go.